Thank you so much for the gracious and warm welcome. It has been a delight to return to Dubai, and I love your beautiful city, but more importantly, I love the beautiful people here. Always greet me with warm hospitality, and I appreciate that so much. This was a great introduction to all the innovation that is happening in and around Dubai across multiple municipalities. And I'm hoping today with my conversation with you, even though my slide says AI, have you all heard of that? Yes. I like to talk about innovation less in the what the end is, but the how we get there. And I thought it was a great question because it comes up often when I talk to different audiences about innovation is where's the novelty, right? And what I often tell people is innovation is relative. Because what might be innovative to a village in Africa might not be or might not sound so innovative to someone who's building drones in France. But it's innovation nonetheless. Does that make sense? So my hope today is to introduce you to a framework that is what I have found to be the 4 elements that I see being introduced within organizations that are changing the mindsets and the hearts of the people not only that reside within their organizations, but in their communities and having a significant impact across the world. And one of the things that inspired me the most from your panelists this morning is I heard a common theme, and is one of the things that I love most about the work that I've done over 20 years working in the field of innovation is that we're dreamers and we're doers. And we want to make a positive imprint and impact in our world. And I think that's a pretty beautiful thing. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here among, I think, kindred spirits. So let's get started. Our vice president recently spent some time in Paris, France, where he talked about AI being one of the most significant technologies that's going to impact generations. How many of us in this room agree that to be true? I think most of us here see that, right? We're hearing that all the time. And what that does is it shows a commitment by the United States at the highest levels of what we can do as not only a country, but as a collaboration and multinational partnership to make that impact. And if you can see, here are some statistics about the impact forecasted for AI. Some of that involves economics, $15.7 trillion to the global economy, 40% increase in employment, 40% increase in productivity. One of the things that I loved seeing across the room today was the number of women who are in the audience, because what we do need in the field of AI, presently 70 to 80% of AI leaders and AI developers remain male. So we need our female innovators to step up and step into these positions of leadership. And promise me that you are going to do that. So what I have found in organizations that I have had the good fortune to work with, and these come in various forms and fashions. I met yesterday with the Holt International School of Business, their graduate school. I do some teaching in Cambridge in the United States, and we have a global campus here. And we talked about the 6 industries here in Dubai that are kind of a core focus of innovation in AI, and they are aviation, transportation, retail, healthcare, justice system, and I always forget the last one. Say again? Not hospitality, space, finance, wasn't education, it'll come to me. I said healthcare, right? Wasn't waste. Oh, I can't think of it. Oh, it should be sports, shouldn't I? I advocate for that. But we talked about this because regardless of industry, and I know many of you in the room covered those industries, they need to have some kind of personalization, some kind of integration, socialization, and acceleration. And I'm going to talk about all 4 of those and how those are being done by US companies to the advantage in pushing the business forward. Many of these things were talked about by the panel discussion this morning, which I was very excited to hear. So let's talk about accelerate. And personalization. We need to build the solutions for the people who are going to use them. Now, I know that sounds surprising, but believe it or not, sometimes we get so enamored and so excited about the technology, we forget about the people, the communities, the workplaces, the workspaces that are going to use the technology. We need to start thinking more thoughtfully by who's going to use the technology, how they're going to use it. And that's through enhanced personalization. Netflix is a great example. How many in here use Netflix? Not many of you, I see. Yeah. They do a great job. And how do they do that? How do you know that they're personalizing your experience? Your personal profile. They create a personal profile. How many of you use Amazon? Yeah. Amazon is another example of that. They create a personal profile of you and they feed you things that you'll like through that experience. But you think about your industry. Have you talked to your users? What kind of technology are they using? What could be used to enhance their experience? Integrated operations. How many of us live and work within operational systems that have been around for some time? I heard that on the panel. We heard security systems, educational systems. What other kind of systems do you all work in? What other systems you work in? What other industries? Oil and field. Energy, that was the 6th one. Why did I forget that? See, I knew I called on you for a reason. Yes, I know. How could I forget that, right? There are existing systems that need to integrate and operate together to function effectively. But believe it or not, we still operate often in silos. And those silos, you need to be someone willing to break down those silos. And Siemens does a great job of this. They coordinate, collaborate, and merge their schedules using AI so that their supply chain is seamless. And as innovators, we often kind of measure the success of our innovation by saying that it's invisible to the people who are using it. So if you can use that as kind of a guardrail or measure stick for your innovation. Did we implement something so that the people were using it and they didn't even realize they were using it? Siemens does a great job of this. The third one is socialized decision making. And one of your panelists talked about this. I think it was the Ministry of Security. Is that right? I don't see him in the room. But he talked about that we can personalize something, but unless we're using vast amount of data from different parts of the system. That helps us to use collaborative decision making so that we are innovating because we're getting multiple perspectives and multiple opinions to drive decision making based on multiple aspects of the decision. A company in the United States that does an excellent job of this is Walmart. Do you have Walmart in Dubai? No. Walmart has its own division called Walmart Connect that focuses specifically on how they can drive innovation through not only technology but through AI innovation. So it's really about how can we use social decision making because we're taking vast amounts of data from different parts of the system to look at a problem so that we can solve it and come up with innovative solutions. And lastly, this has come up several times on the panel, is we have to have a growth mindset. We have to embrace and step into being continuous learners. And IBM is a great example of this with their Watson education. We now have AI agents. ChatGPT came up several times. But education is a field that's moving so fast and so rapidly because so many companies recognize that unless you're continuously learning and infusing that into your organizational ecosystem, you're not going to be able to keep up pace with your competitors. And so to be very thoughtful and mindful about, are we creating learning leaders? Are we creating systems within our organization where our employees have access to learning materials? And is that learning tailored to you, which might be different to her, which might be different to him, and so on and so forth, right? So I come back to my model. All of these things independently within themselves make for strong organizational choices related to technology, but put together, they create a powerful engine of innovation. Holistic equals humanistic. We put all four of those things together, we can transform an industry and we can be a model for organizational innovation for other industries. Let me give you an example. How many of you in here are healthcare? Because I know that a number of you came from the health industry and are passionate about healthcare. MediSafe is an organization that got a $300 million investment from AWS and Jeff Bezos because they reimagined how they could transform the patient experience. And as someone who's had her own patient experience, I'm a breast cancer survivor, I know what it's like to transverse through a very complicated and complex medical health condition, as well as try to get through the stumbling blocks that, at least in the United States, our healthcare system puts in place. MediSafe recognized that, and they said, why can't we put the technology in the hands of the patient? And they created ways so that the patient would be in charge of navigating their experience. So they personalized that. And is my experience going to be the same as someone else's experience? No, right? So they use a personal profile to make my experience my own and other patients' experience tailored to them, connecting me with doctors, physicians, treatment options, medicinals that were dedicated to me. And so they integrated the experience based on the existing operations. They used data not only from within the hospital system, but from across the world. Imagine that, AI now, rather than having access to physicians within a very small hospital system, AI allows us to collect data from around the world. So if you have a complex medical condition, your able to access, and you think about that when we think about security. We had two gentlemen on the panel that were talking about security. You think about the access that we have to that different data when we're talking about complex problems we're trying to solve. It's magnificent. And then from a learning perspective, Metasafe recognized that we have to be continuous learners when we're going through a critical medical condition because things change rapidly and all the time. And they created an integrated system. So what does that mean for all of us in here? What does that mean for all of us in here who are working in healthcare, in energy, and in our various disciplines? I believe every single one of you needs to be an agent of innovation. And you don't have to wait until you're the Chief Innovation Officer. You can start today. Because I believe within each one of us, there is something that gives you deep gladness. And there's something out in the world that you see needs to be addressed. And according to a great American theologian, he says, when that deep gladness and that need of the world connect, that's your calling. That's your calling. And AI is a great leveler. And what I mean by that, you don't have to be CEO. You can be working the counter at Dunkin' Donuts. And you can use this technology to go out and address that vocation, that calling that you have. We are living in a wonderful era of transformation and change. And I'm so excited to be here, not only with people with brilliant minds, but warm and compassionate hearts, who I know will go out into our world and make a powerful, impactful, and beautiful change. Thank you for having me.